Abby and Kat were born in 1997 and became best friends when they were 6. Grew up together and started a band and bonded over music ever since. 20 years later, they are all grown up and spend their free time analyzing lyrics. Now here they are talking all about their Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. Taylor, if you're listening, we love you.
Welcome to Folklore Podcast, where we dive into the lyrics and lore of our Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift.
Absolutely, that's why we're here.
I'm Kat.
I'm Abby.
And we just did a little thumbs thing. It was kind of fun.
We did. That was a first.
It was, it's a little spur of the moment. And that's why you should watch our YouTube, because we're always doing visual shit. Because why not?
Because why not? This is part 2 of our little folklore love triangle moment.
Yes.
So we're back, baby.
We got a couple messages last week after episode part 1 went live. Spear just whined very loudly. And people were very excited that we're finally covering it. It's also just, we got a couple different things about this, but how people had a totally different idea of how the folklore love triangle plot works.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know that people were like, I didn't think of it this way at all, but it works. And I feel like that's what's so amazing about the folklore love triangle that I forgot to mention when I was doing the plot overall, is that she doesn't give concrete timelines or like facts about the relationships. So by writing the songs about them, she's turning them into folklore.
Yeah.
Because they're getting twisted and interpreted in all these different ways. And like, no one's right, no one's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I love it. And Taylor Swift is a genius.
It's amazing. By the way, August 31st, we're having our little Hot Ones hangout over Zoom.
If you want to get we'll put out an edited version of it probably a few weeks later, depending on our abilities. Yeah. Abby's ability to edit it. Abby does the editing. I don't know why I said R. But if you want to see it live, no cuts, no filter.
And it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Basically, we're each coming up with like 4 questions to ask the other one. And we'll take a bite of the hot wing and then have to ask the question. And the other person has to eat the hot wing and then answer the question. So it will be chaos. We're going deep cuts. I'm going deep cuts.
I went pretty deep with it. I told my brother about this idea. He's a huge Hot Ones fan, and he's the reason why I can have spicy food.
And he's the James that we're not talking shit about today.
Yes, once again, my brother is great. We love my brother.
Is he going to come to the live stream? He has to join the Patreon.
I actually told him, because he said you have to use the actual hot sauces they use in the show. I said, James, with what money? And he said, I will pay you for that if you give me
we get a sponsor.
Proceeds. I think he wanted like stock in the business. My brother's, anyway, we love him. So we love my brother very much. And you know who we don't love? James from the Folklore Love Triangle.
Also, I feel like I should go first because chronological. Okay.
I agree with the chronology, yeah.
So, fuck James. And we love Betty.
Oh, Betty.
Which unfortunately is a song from James's point of view. But, it'd be like that. Sorry, my mom is sending pictures to the family GC. She is on vacay. I don't know why I'm abbreviating everything. So Betty is track 14 on Folklore. You all know it. You all love it. And if you don't, this song was written by Taylor and William Bowery, who has been unmasked Scooby-Doo style as Joe Alwyn. Just kidding. He didn't show his face when they unmasked his identity. He would never do that. It was unveiled in a bit on the Long Pond studio sessions, as we all know, where Jack tried to keep it going and Taylor was clearly like, dude, stop. And I love that energy for their friendship. And the song was produced by Taylor, Jack, and Aaron. So the whole triangle all got in on it. Different triangle from the triangle we're talking about. Anyways, when this song first came out, like a lot of people were like, oh my God, it's queer. It's like, about a girl, and Taylor Swift is singing it. And then Taylor was like, it's not, it's from a different point of view. That's like kind of the point of the whole album. Once again, weird to speculate.
Your sexuality.
That's I was trying to say it's weird to speculate on sexuality. And also, like, who would do the things in the song but a man? You know?
That's so true.
Like, who but a man would say, slept next to her, but I dreamt of you all summer long? Only a man would fumble like that. And also, I realized we forgot to mention this last week, but James, Betty, and Inez are all the names of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' kids, and this was like a name reveal.
Okay, that's weird to me.
I can't remember which of the three, but like, well, I think James is the oldest girl, and then Betty, and then I think Inez is the one that they revealed in this, or maybe it was flip-flop between Betty and Inez. But like, I think that she's the godmother of one of the kids. Uh-huh. James is the baby voice in Gorgeous.
Okay.
So like, they're in the lore. So like, if you're just like looking for names, it's like a fun, cute thing. I think it's fun.
Yeah, except she had the two siblings in love with each other.
I mean, other than that,
if you don't think
also
about
like
it,
they did like a gender swap and all that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's folklore. It's not a huge deal, but I was like, that's such a strange choice.
It was, yeah, but I think it's fun though.
Okay.
It's a fun little Easter egg.
It is a fun Easter egg. I agree.
This song was first performed at the 55th CMAs of the Grand Ole Opry on September 16th, 2020. It's a very cool performance. Just her acoustic guitar. The light is like behind her, and it's like she's in all black. Her guitar is black. It's a very cool, understated look. I like that performance. And this is also on the Eras Tour set list, which I think we mentioned last week. Originally, the whole song was on there, and then post Tortured Poets being added to the set list, she shortened it. I assume she just took out one of the verses. I didn't look into it because usually if I'm watching live streams, I'm just like Tortured Poets.
You get dialed in.
Surprise songs.
Yeah.
I don't really have any personal connections to the song, really, because I am not a piece of shit. I do, however, have the Betty's Garden variant of the vinyl, and I remember pre-ordering it like when she announced the album. And then when it came out, I was like, of course I ordered the one that everybody has queer theories about.
Of course you did, yeah.
Naturally.
Also, I remember at one point we were going to do a cover of this song, and then it never happened.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm certain that my rewrite is in my notes. We'll do that. Maybe we'll put that on
okay.
on the Patreon. My overall interpretation of the song, James is trying to win Betty back. He sucks. Betty deserves better. It'd be like that. Diving right in, verse 1. So I think it's really interesting how all of the verses start with like a direct address to Betty. And to me, it kind of reads like he wrote down his thoughts and like is writing this down as a letter to like go and say this to Betty when he shows up on her doorstep. And I wonder like if verse 1 and 2 I kind of interpret as his like drafts that he then threw out.
Yeah. I hope so, because these are bad.
Yeah. Right after that, he's like, Betty, I won't make assumptions about why you switched your homeroom.
I hate you, James, from the Folklore Triangle.
Like, it's so funny that he's trying to be respectful. He's like, I don't know if I'm the reason you switched your homeroom, but like I would get it if I was, but like I don't know if I am. He's like, because he doesn't know Betty's life.
But he's doing the nice guy thing where he's like, listen, I'm not saying you switched your homeroom because of me.
But like also be so fucking for real.
I'm the center of the universe and you definitely did.
Yeah. So Betty, one time I was riding on my skateboard when I passed your house. It's like I couldn't breathe. Ugh. No Scrubs is actually about James because he's a bitch ass with no car except at the end of the song. It's only once he gets back together with Betty that he gets a car. On like a side note, I think Taylor is so real for this like detail of he accidentally, air quotes, passed her house and like everything that he was trying not to feel came back and he like couldn't grapple with it. Mm-hmm. We've all been there.
For sure.
It's like I couldn't breathe. Good. Die. I can't live without you, then perish. That's the energy that I want James and Betty to have. You heard the rumors from Inez. You can't believe a word she says most times, but this time it was true. Again, with like James trying to be a better person, but he's just not quite there yet.
God, he sucks.
Like and on the other hand, like I see him trying to improve and trying to figure out how to apologize, and like I also imagine that he says this to somebody and he watches their facial expressions and changes what he's saying like mid thing. Like,
Yeah.
you heard the rumors from Inez. You can't believe a word she says. And then they're like, he's like, most times, but this time it was true.
That's exactly how he delivers it.
Like,
yeah,
100%.
You're so right.
And like that idea of when someone says something, it's like your first thought is your instinct, and then your second thought is what you actually think about it. Like when you're trying to unlearn things, that's kind of what this comes across as to me.
Yeah.
But also he's trying to discredit Inez while also like confirming that he did have a fling with Augustine. So I wonder if like Inez had details in what she told Betty that James is like, okay, like some of that happened, but not all of it. Because that's how the rumor mill works, but we don't know. He's like, I was an asshole, but not like that. The worst thing that I ever did was what I did to you. So close to an apology, James, but actually the word you're looking for is sorry. He never says sorry in this entire song. Taylor's like, this is a song about a 17-year-old learning to apologize. Is
Learning.
it?
He did not succeed.
He's learning. He's not quite there.
And he never once is just like, and also Augustine, who I clearly hurt in the situation as well.
Yeah, he never brings up Augustine. Which, okay, to be fair, if I'm apologizing to my ex-girlfriend trying to get her back with me, and one of the things that we broke up or that like we're not together is because I had a summer fling, I'm not bringing her up in the apology speech.
That's fair. He wouldn't be like, listen, Your Honor, she was so pretty.
I mean,
couldn't help myself.
he does mention her later.
Oh, okay.
It's a figment of his worst intentions, which we'll get into it. But also like he never actually says sorry in the song. Like he's trying to build to it, and he knows that he was wrong, and he's admitting that he was wrong, that it was a shitty thing to do, and it's like the worst thing he ever did was hurt her. Like he knows that his worst mistake ever was hurting Betty, and I'll get into it later about why I think he might have hurt Betty on purpose. But into the chorus. But if I just showed up at your party, haha, if I was there, what would you do? Like, you know, like the shitty thing that teenage boys do, like, oh, you're gonna shower without me? Same energy. Would you have me? Would you want me? Me? No.
Absolutely not.
And like this is all that James wants. He just wants Betty to want him back. Would you tell me to go fuck myself or leave me to the garden? And I think that it's so funny that he knows. He's like, okay, this is going to go one of two polar opposite ways. Either she immediately says, go fuck yourself, and slams the door, or she gives me a chance to explain myself in the garden, which also just a garden is a very like romantic setting.
And then he continues with like the more positive option.
And he's like, so if he's doing like a choose your own adventure moment, and he is choosing,
He chose his own adventure.
he's choosing his own adventure. So he wants to apologize to her in front of everyone, but then like talk about the specifics. He wants to apologize to her in front of everyone and like put himself out there, but then he wants the actual discussion that they have to be private and like away in the garden. Because he knows that if he gives the full apology in front of everyone and owns up to all of his mistakes, even if Betty gets back together with him, like then the rumor mill is just going to be like all of the stuff that he did wrong, because I'm sure that Inez is there, and that's why he says stupid friends, because he doesn't like Inez, clearly. In the garden, would you trust me if I told you it was just a summer thing?
No.
And I just, like, is that supposed to make it better? Because, like, to Augustine, it wasn't just a summer thing. And also,
Interesting that it's happening in a garden, though, because we've been talking a lot about, like, the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve.
And also, I hate it here, so I will go to secret gardens in my mind.
Ooh, that
This is a secret garden that Taylor went to. She made up this whole story. Betty's garden doesn't exist.
Well, that, but also he's saying, like, would you lead me to the garden? Like, this, like, he's discounting his actions by...
And he's also saying, like, would you... Giving me the chance to explain myself is like going to paradise.
Yeah.
Kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Who knows?
I'm only 17. I don't know anything, but I know I miss you. He's like, yeah, I messed up. I wish that I could talk. Like, I think my life would be so much easier if I could just talk. He's like, yeah, I messed up. I'm an idiot. I'm 17. The only thing that I know for sure is that I miss you. And I had this realization that Percy Jackson kind of has James energy, but like less of an asshole, because in the last Percy Jackson and the Olympians book, spoilers if you haven't read that, it came out so long ago. Anyways, him and Annabeth are meant for each other. Everybody knows this. They're the main couple. But he has like a friendship with a little bit of romance with this other girl named Rachel Elizabeth Dare. She's very Augustine coded, and Annabeth is very Betty coded, where he like it's a whole thing.
Interesting.
But then in the sequel series, Percy loses his memory, and the only thing that he can remember is Annabeth. So I don't know anything, but I know I miss you. And he's also 17. So did Taylor Swift write this about Percy Jackson?
Someone find that fanfic.
Wait, is the Folklore love triangle about Annabeth, Percy, and Rachel Elizabeth Dare? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Me, it is. Kidding, kind of. Into verse 2, again, we've got the direct, like, Betty address at the start of the verse. I know where it all went wrong. And, like, he's going back to the last time that they were together and saying, like, I know the exact moment where, like, the beginning of the end was. Which is, like, good if you're trying to fix things, to know where things started going wrong. So, like, kudos, I guess. Your favorite song was playing from the far side of the gym. Like, he knows Betty well enough to know what her favorite song is, but he still didn't go dance with her when he heard the song. But also maybe he did because he saw her dancing with somebody else, so maybe he went to dance with her, and he was going to make this, you know, sacrifice of going to dance with his girlfriend at a dance. And saw her with somebody else because she knew he wasn't going to show up for her.
It also reminds me of a line from the song American Pie, which is, you know, an older song. It's also like
So long.
so long, London. It's like 8 minutes long, 8 to 10 minutes long. That doesn't matter. But he says, I know that you're in love with him because I saw you dancing in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
So the similarities are like,
you're in love with him because I saw you dancing. Sorry, that's such a good.
It's a really
I
good
love
song.
the delivery of that line.
Despite it being long. Anyway, the similarities between those two lines is there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible that she was referencing that.
Could be.
I was nowhere to be found. I hate the crowds. You know that. Like, he wouldn't make a sacrifice for her, even though it's her favorite song. He knows it's her favorite song. And, like, in his head, is he like, oh, I made a sacrifice by going to the dance that I didn't want to go to because I hate crowds and I hate music and fun and joy. And I just want to be a bitch. But, like, I'm bringing more fandoms into it. It's very, like, if anybody's watched season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty, Conrad at Belly's prom.
Yes.
Same energy of, like, Conrad didn't want to dance all night. Belly was getting increasingly upset because she wanted her boyfriend to dance with her, a very normal thing for you to want. And that's, yeah.
To bring even more fandoms into this, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend season 1 with Rebecca and Greg at the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you haven't seen that show, but.
I think I might have watched season 1.
No, you would have hated every single moment of it.
I did hate every moment of it. That's why I didn't tell you that I watched it, because I know how much you like it. This is also like years ago that I tried to watch it.
You'd still hate it now to this day.
Yeah, I don't think I'm
a big fan, though.
I know it's good. It's just not for me.
That's so fine. I haven't read the Percy Jackson books. I'm not really that interested in that. People can have different interests, and that's okay.
It's true. Look at us, not brawling. Maybe
Yet.
we touched grass recently, just to say. But yeah, just like this, to him showing up was enough of a gesture, and like him being miserable all night for being there, he thinks that isn't going to ruin her night because he's stupid. Plus I saw you dance with him. So hypocritical of him to bring this up after he has a whole entire summer fling with Augustine. But also, I could see it being possible that Betty was mad at James that he didn't want to dance with her to her favorite song, so she went and danced with the guy that she knew James was jealous about.
Sure.
I think that is very possible that that's what happened there, and that's why James eventually has the thing with Augustine, because he wants to hurt Betty the way that she hurt him by dancing with this other guy in front of him. And then the pre-chorus is the same. The chorus is the same with the would, which we'll get into that later. The tenses change for the final chorus, which you know I love some grammar. The The way I said that unironically.
No,
Like, that wasn't a
real.
joke. I just
It's
genuinely.
genuine.
I have two English.
English.
Two.
You didn't even finish the sentence.
But I finished the degrees. And into the bridge. I was walking home on broken cobblestones. He was walking home because you can't skateboard on cobblestones. And he doesn't have a car because he's a bitch.
That's so true.
Also last week, like I brought up that I think that this moment was like right after James and Betty had broken up or ended things or whatever. And he was walking home. Maybe Betty gave him a ride to wherever they were. And then of course in August, from her perspective, she just like showed up and gave him a ride and started this passionate, beautiful, bittersweet, like summer fling moment where she fell in love. And to him, not the same memory of their meeting. And then again, like it's interesting that this is the bridge is where he's mentioning cobblestones, and in Cardigan, high heels on cobblestones is the second line of the song.
Yeah.
So it's like to James, there's all of this backstory before getting to the point where he met Augustine. Whereas to Betty, she's like, whatever, like you cheating on me or, you know, having this other woman after we broke up, whatever, if they were on a break or not, debatable. Like that to her is the start of their story, which I think is interesting.
It is very interesting.
Just thinking of you when she pulled up, like, also, so in August, the remember when I pulled up is also in the bridge. So again, to August and to James, their meeting was a big moment that like emotionally built to. And then again to Betty, because she wasn't there, she wasn't in it, she didn't know what it was like to be there. It's not a big part of her story because to her, the meeting doesn't matter.
Wow. Yeah. Ooh, I got chills from that, and also it hurts so bad.
It hurts so bad. And then also to tie it back to the like saw you dance with him, Betty doing something on purpose to make James jealous. And here James is like, oh, she pulled up. And like, here's my opportunity to hurt Betty back the same way that she hurt me by being seen with Augustine. Not, maybe he didn't know it was going to, you know, spiral into a full relationship with Augustine. Maybe he was just doing it to get back at Betty. And then there's a gorgeous girl who's obsessed with him. Of course, he's going to lean in. He's a 17-year-old boy.
It's just that
He
none
sucks.
of this is an apology. Like
None of this is an
literally
apology.
none of
It's
this.
all just an explanation, and it's not an apology. Like a figment of my worst intentions.
Ew.
Excuse me. Like Augustine is a figment of his worst intentions, not just because she's someone he was drawn to, but because he could hurt Betty the same way that she hurt him.
He's literally saying, I know what I did was wrong, but it's Augustine's fault.
Yeah, he's like, you know, if Augustine hadn't shown up, I probably wouldn't have cheated on you.
She hadn't been so hot.
I'm so sorry that the hottest girl ever pulled up and said, get in the car. What was I supposed to do? Say no?
I mean,
I was walking. I couldn't even board. I couldn't even board, bro. Why do you live so near so many cobblestones? That's on you. I know it's your parents' house, but like, you cobblestoned.
I think you're cobblestone.
I'm not cobblestoned. I wish I was. She said, James, get in, let's drive. Which now we know Augustine knew James before she picked him up. Obviously, you're not just going to pull up beside a random person and be like, hey, get in my car. Because we all sat through the stranger danger presentations in school. But also, like, we don't know how they know each other. We don't know what the situation is. I hypothesize that Augustine went to a different school, but we don't know if Augustine went to a different school. We don't know if she's older. We don't know if she's younger. We don't know anything. All we know is she can drive. So she's at least 16. But that's pretty much all that we know. And we don't know how they knew each other. We know that somehow Inez found out that Augustine and James were seeing each other. But like, in the age of social media, you could just see somebody tagged in a photo that you're following and then bam.
Yeah.
Now you have a whole thing to unlock. But in some way, James knew Augustine before. And like, maybe she was the girl that like Betty was kind of worried about. And James was like, don't worry about it. Like, there's nothing there. Which, again, in terms of ways to hurt somebody that did the same thing to you, Uno reverse, doesn't feel good. James took it too far. He's the worst. those days turned into nights. Like, him just saying, oh yeah, like it started out as just days and then nights happened. Yeah, that's how time works, James.
Yeah. It's like she pulled up like a figment of my worst intentions, and then we just like started spending all this time together.
Yeah. It's like, I was just so bored because you weren't talking to me. So then I slipped and fell into her vagina.
That's literally what he's saying.
He's just like, oops. He's just like, I didn't mean to take her virginity. It just happened. You know, these things happen. When you're 17, you don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. Every day's a surprise.
In the Ross and Rachel, we were on a break thing. One of Rachel's lines is, "Where did you mean to put it? Her purse?"
That's a good line.
It's a good line. And then Phoebe goes, "Where did he put it?" Because they're all listening in through the door.
Incredible. Iconic. Slept next to her, but I dreamt of you all summer long. James,
bro.
Jamathan.
Bro.
No, the way that my notes want to say James, Jamie, bro. James, bro, not her bro.
Not my bro. Our collective
There is
bro.
no way you thought that this line would go over well. I'm glad that this was lost in the drafts. Because the way that this is an inside thought. This is a to the grave secret. You do not tell a woman that you are trying to win back that when you were sleeping, literally or in a sexual way, with somebody else, you were thinking about her. Not flattering.
Never.
Cool.
No.
Would not recommend.
Don't do it.
What the fuck?
Literally, why?
Like, I get that he's trying to say that he was like trying to get over Betty by being with Augustine and it didn't work. But like, I'm glad that this got workshopped out of the speech. Like, I really hope it did.
I think it did.
Because there's no way Betty would have gotten back together with him if he had said everything here. Like, maybe he can pepper in a couple of these things later, and then she could be like, well, I guess I already started dating you. You're going to be really embarrassing if we broke up again. You know? And then we have verse 3, because we have the bridge, and then it goes back to the verse structure, which I love. But also, verse 3 is the moment where it switches from, like, the normal past tense that stories are told in. Like, if you read a book, for the most part, it's going to be either first or third person, and it's set, you know, it's a story. It's already happened, so it's being told in past tense. But here it switches from past tense to present tense of like, this is happening right now. Like, now you, the listener of this song, has all of the backstory of me being the worst, and here is me showing up to Betty's party to quote unquote apologize.
So Betty didn't hear any of the stuff that we heard.
No, so Betty has none of this. All Betty knows is what she heard from Inez. She just knows that James was sleeping with Augustine probably, and that he sucks. But she doesn't have all of this backstory. And maybe eventually he will tell her this. But again, once you're in it, you kind of accept shit in a relationship once you're in love.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And also, like, I love another thing about the verb switch is that, like, we're now at the party. We are one of Betty's friends who aren't stupid. Fucking James. Betty, I'm here on your doorstep. He's putting himself out there. He's out of his comfort zone. We know he hates crowds. He hates parties. He hates fun. But he showed up to a party. So he's, like, trying to show... I think that's why he showed up to her party instead of having a conversation one-on-one with her at a more normal, appropriate time, is because he's like, well, to show her that I've changed, I will show her that I literally have changed, because in the past I wouldn't have showed up because there's crowds or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's showing up to her party. I've planned it out for weeks now, but it's finally sinking in. Honestly, he's very real for this. The, like, when you've been planning something for a while and then it actually is happening and you show up and you're like, oh my God, this is the thing that I've been thinking about nonstop for weeks.
Yeah, but also the fact that the first part of the song took weeks for him to figure out not to say, well, I was boning someone else, I thought of you. Took him weeks.
Listen, we've all been 17. Unless you're not 17 yet, in which case we'll all hopefully be 17. Unless you just like the 13th floor of like a hotel where they just kind of skip over it.
Ooh, you know, if 17 wasn't such a crucial hot mess of an age, I would say we should skip it like the 13th floor.
Exactly. Betty, right now is the last time I can dream about what happens when you see my face again. Again, relatable anxiety. Like, you've built something up in your head so much, and then you're like, oh my God, wait, this is like the last time that my daydream is a possibility, and that when I show up, like, it's either going to happen or the way that I think it's going to happen, or it's not. And like, those are the only two ways it can go.
Yeah.
And then the pre-chorus, this time the lyrics are changed. And to me, this like supports the idea that he was drafting these letters, and thank God the pre-chorus from the last two ones where he shit talks Inez is dropped out. And he says, instead of shit talking her friend, he says, the only thing I want to do is make it up to you. And like, I think also verse 2 is kind of like James didn't know how to express that he felt jealous about Betty dancing with another guy, and he kind of bottled that up and probably exploded in some other way, as people do when they bottle up their emotions. It comes out eventually. It's just not the way that you thought it would. But here he's being like very upfront about his intentions and like what he wants out of this. He's not just apologizing to apologize. He's apologizing with the added caveat of wanting to make it up to her and be a part of her life again. So I showed up at your party. Yeah, I showed up at your party. I love the way that she sings this, and then like the chorus starts again with, yeah, I showed up at your party. And she's like, so I showed up at your party. Yeah, I showed up at your party. Yeah, I showed up.
Yes.
It's so good where it's like, so I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I am here. Yeah, I'm here.
It's giving, like, he pulls up on a skateboard. He sees the party from the outside. He's like, so I showed up, and he's like hyping himself up, and then he's like walking up. He's like, yeah, I showed up to your party. And then like she opens the door, and he's like, yeah.
I almost think of it as like he rolls up on a skateboard at like the pre-chorus, and he's like, Betty's out there, and she's just like, James, what the fuck are you doing here? He goes, the only thing I want to do is make it up to you. So I showed up at your party. And then he's like, oh God, the speech, I dropped the paper. It fell out of my pocket while I was boarding. It must have been the fucking cobblestones. They're so bumpy. Damn it. And then he just goes off script. I want to deliver this as a monologue where it's just like,
I think you could deliver this entire song as a... Can you do that for the Patreon?
Yes,
please?
actually, I really want to do that.
Okay,
that would be really fun.
I
so just imagine that.
Okay.
And then into the chorus, yeah, I showed up at your party. And this is, James is like really directly addressing Betty. Like he's in it. No more drafts. This is the final draft. This is the final version. This is the file that you title final. Yes, really actual final, for real final, and then with the date at the end, so you know, make sure it's the most final version.
Got it. All of my files be like.
Literally. Will you have me? Will you love me? So before it was the would she or would you, and now he's like, this is the moment to make the choice. Will you have me? Will you love me? Instead of would you want me? So he's like, we're past want. I've built this up for weeks, and I'm immediately going off script and going too hard, bringing a weird vibe to the party. Will you kiss me on the porch in front of all your stupid friends? James, this is why you don't go off script.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Because why? He's like, I'm so sorry that I cheated on you, Betty. Will you kiss me in front of all your friends that I fucking hate? And then Betty's like, you're sorry?
No. Why is Betty take him back? Why?
Maybe I like to think
she's 17.
Because she's 17, and also maybe her friends didn't hear.
She's just like
I imagine that James rolls up and he's outside, and Betty steps out onto the porch and closes the door behind her, and all of her friends are just like in the windows. And they're all just like, is she falling for this shit? Is she fucking kissing him? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many times we had to watch The Notebook with her?
We needed a song from the POV of the friends watching from the window.
We really do. We need Inez's POV on this.
We need Inez's POV of her just being like, she took him back. Why? I heard this. The whole song is about gossip about different people at the school.
It could be so good.
Folklore Part 2.
Two folk, two lore. There we go.
Two folk, two lore.
Taylor, you can have that. I won't even charge you for the copyright. This is my charity for you. I love also though the like immediate, like this entire thing. He's got all these like thrown out letters I almost sent to you, like the Archer, and then he just instead rolls up and goes, "Will you love me and will you kiss me right now?" Because in all of his drafts, he's like, she'll either tell me immediately to go fuck myself, or we'll go to the garden.
Night.
We'll go to the garden. We'll go someplace else and like discuss and maybe kiss. And instead, he's just like, "Betty, I love you. Kiss me now." Garden. But then he is kind of cute with the like, "If you kiss me, will it be just like I dreamed it? Will it you patch your broken wings?" So he's not just hoping for a kiss. He's hoping for a rom-com, end credit, roll music.
Is he also calling her broken?
Well, he's saying that she has broken wings.
He broke them.
Well, yeah, but that's why he's saying, that's why he thinks he could fix it, because he's a man.
I hate you, James, from the Folklore Triangle.
I second that. But I also think it's really funny that he's just like, if you kiss me, will it be just like I dreamed it? Will it patch your broken wings? Like, he's hoping for that, like, this will be. And like, that's what he wants to start playing as soon as they kiss. He wants a toe pop. He wants a freeze frame. Where are they 20 years from now? Like, that's what James is looking for out of this kiss. Not necessarily a reasonable expectation, but he's just blurting it all out.
He's just going for it.
But he does, he comes back to script at the end. He goes, "I'm only 17. I don't know anything, but I know I miss you."
He really stuck the landing. Is that what you wrote?
I wrote "stuck the landing" with his pre-planned part of his speech. And like, honestly, that's so real of him to have written out an entire speech, immediately fumble it, and then at the end be like, "I don't know anything. I'm only 17. I know I miss you."
He's just got his hands in his pockets with a little shrug, like, "Please forgive me."
Don't make James
I'm
ooh-woo.
sorry.
Don't ooh-woo. Don't ooh-woo all over Folklore.
I hate James from the Folklore Love Triangle.
And then she says no, and he Naruto runs away. No, he Naruto ran up.
I don't know what this is referencing.
Wait, you don't know what?
I don't know anime stuff. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
That
no,
is a
but
gap
you've
in
seen
my
a weird
knowledge.
kid.
Of course I've seen a weird kid.
You know when weird anime kids would run and they put their arms straight out behind them? That's a Naruto run.
That is what Betty should have done.
No, I'm saying James rolls up, he kick flips off his skateboard, falls, gets up, Naruto runs up to the door.
Can someone animate that for us, please?
Please, oh my god. I need to learn animation just to do this.
Oh, man.
And the outro unfortunately confirms that this worked on Betty, and she did, in fact, take him back.
That actually, both of those sound effects worked. Yeah.
This is how, those two sound effects combined is how all of her friends felt when they were peeping, and then they started making out, and they're like, "God damn it."
Anise?
Yeah, I like that you've pronounced Inez differently every single time you've said it this episode.
Well, anyway, she tweeted about it for sure.
Oh, immediately. She's like live tweeting James and Betty getting back together.
A rose grew out of frozen ground, aka Betty and James back together, pass it on.
She's tweeting, she's just like, "James just showed up, LMFAO, Betty's about to humble him so good." And then the next tweet is just like, "What the never mind, they're making out, I don't know anything. But I'm only 17, you know?"
Oh, man.
Standing in your cardigan, which I always have thought of as like, that's what Betty looked like when he rolled up. She's just there in her cardigan, standing, kind of looking like an NPC, because she's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" She's doing a factory reset. Kissing in my car again, because he has been redeemed by getting Betty back. His parents are like, "Actually, yeah, you need a car now so that you can't trip and fall on some cobblestones and into another relationship with somebody else."
Yeah, blame the cobblestones.
Yeah, because, well, now that he has a car, no mysterious hot girls can offer him rides. Maybe Betty got him the car. Betty's like, "Here's a car. Please don't cheat on me again. Thank you so much."
Oh, man.
Stopped at a streetlight. "You know I miss you." Mm-hmm. And this also kind of hints to my theory about like the long distance relationship, because it's like, how are you gonna miss somebody that you're currently dating? I mean, we've all been in the honeymoon phase, and you're like gone for 2 minutes. You're like, "I miss you already." But disgusting. And yeah, so that's Betty.
Wow.
Discussion question. We kind of touched on this last week, but just for you all listening, would this have worked on you when you were 17?
Oh, when I was 17, absolutely.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely. I
Showed
hate
up at my
that.
party? Wow.
Wow.
That's so fun. You're going to kiss me in front of my friends? Have you ever had someone kiss you in a crowded room and every single one of your friends is making fun of you, but 15 seconds later they were clapping too? Then what would you do? Hit him with my car.
At least you have a car. Boom. Roasted
And that's why I
James.
don't cheat on people, because I have a car.
That, you know.
Actually, that tracks with my ex. And that's that.
Wow. All right. So now, Cardigan. Okay. Cardigan is the second track on Folklore, and it is the song from Betty's point of view. And as Kat talked about last week, it's basically like a retrospective song years in the future where she's talking about this relationship and everything that's happened. I think it's interesting how chronologically this is the last song, but it's the first of the 3 that appears on the album.
And it was the first single and only single from Folklore. It's the only one with a music video.
Yeah, it does have a music video, which I talk about later, but I guess I'll talk about it now. It's this cottagecore, lots of pianos, was filmed during COVID. So actually, like, different crew members had different colored wristbands of who could be closer to Taylor.
Oh.
And she apparently did all her own hair and makeup.
That's fun.
Right? That's a fun fact. It was produced by Aaron Dessner. The song was originally an instrumental demo titled Maple. He sent it to Taylor at 9 p.m. She returned it to him at 2 a.m. as Cardigan.
Of course she did. She loves her midnight work.
Literally five-ish hours. She was like, here you go. Here's a masterpiece. Have at it. The song also launched Taylor into her tradition of releasing cardigans for her albums.
Which, thank God.
There's 5 of them. There's Folklore, Speak Now, Red,
Torture
Poets Department, and
2 other, actually there's 6 because there's 2 other variations of the traditional
is there?
Folklore.
Folklore, Red,
Which
Speak
is-
Now, 1989, and TTPD.
Yeah. And there's 3 Folklore ones. There's different colorways.
How many do you have?
4. I have like the original cardigan before the copyright issues, where they had to change the patch because somebody was like, I have a copyright on Folklore. So I have one that just says Folklore, but the rest now, if you like, when they did the re-release and stuff, it was Folklore album. I have Folklore, Speak Now, 1989, and TTPD. I don't have Red because I am a fool and I didn't buy it, and I wish I had, because it's cute, and I honestly wear my cardigans like all the time. Like,
You
that's
do,
the
and they're
thing,
cute.
is that because I honestly I don't wear the 1989 one as much because of the seagulls on the back, because there's just not a lot of places that I can wear a bright blue sweater with seagulls on the back. But I do still wear it, and I wear I wear the Torture Poets one to work like a lot. Nobody knows it's merch.
Yeah, they're really cute. I really like the Torture Poets one and the Folklore one. They're great cardigans. Thank you to this song, Cardigan.
Thank you.
All right. I talked about that already. There's also a Cabin and Candlelight version that was released soon after the album dropped. And there's also a demo of this song that has some adjusted lyrics, and I think about the adjusted lyrics every day of my life, and I will sprinkle those in during lyric analysis. Performances. It was part of a medley with August and Willow at the 63rd Grammy Awards in 2021. Also at the Eras Tour, it used to be the last song of the Folklore section, and then when Torture Poets Department became part of the set and Folklore and Evermore blended, it's now the first song from that section.
R.I.P. the one.
Yeah. Would have been fun if it would have stayed on the set list.
Chase 2 Girls Lose the One was an Easter egg for her cutting the one from the set list.
It really was. Oh, man. Also, though, that's the song that I like, one of the songs I really cried at Eras Tour, so
I'm glad we had that.
did that for me. All right. It received nominations for Song of the Year and Best Pop Solo Performance at the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. Okay. Here's some lore. I had never heard of this before. Have you heard of the Taylor Swift Inner Circle?
No.
It's led by a guy named Steve,
Love that for him.
who eventually Taylor's team came after him and shut it down. I don't know where Steve is now.
What was
Okay.
the Taylor Swift Inner
I
Circle?
wrote, so I'm going to try to abbreviate this. I have a very long telling of it in my notes. It's all copy pasted. So basically, the Taylor Swift Inner Circle was, I guess, run by Steve, but it might have been a group of people that constantly were leaking information about her songs that hadn't been released. So this inner circle hinted to Cardigan, and a lot of people interpreted the hint as a possible collaboration with Cardi B, which wasn't true. So the leaks like weren't that successful sometimes, but okay. It started in 2004, run by a guy named Steve. They think he was in his late 30s, and basically they became known to obtain rare and obscure unreleased songs or demos by Taylor.
2004?
This is what it said.
That's crazy.
Like literally all the way back then. Yeah.
Damn. So he was like obsessed with like a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's gross.
Like when she moved to Nashville though and started trying to make music.
Yeah, that's gross and I hate that.
Steve.
So instead of leaking the unreleased content, they would just explain in paragraphs what they sounded like on their website, and they would post about which songs that they had, the titles of the songs. They are most known for having a hold of the Lover unreleased tracks, All the Girls You Loved Before, and Need, which they apparently leaked in March of 2023.
Yeah, that's why All the Girls You Loved Before was released, but Need was never released.
I guess it kind of was leaked.
I mean,
somehow.
yeah, it was leaked, but it was all over TikTok, but it was never actually released.
Oh, gotcha. And then, yeah, so I guess he posted, Steve or this inner circle posted about it in 2020 about Folklore, and then Taylor's team said, hell no, and the website was shut down and was resold. There's a long list of songs and titles that they released, leaked, or hinted at. I just thought, I was like,
how did they get Cardigan though? Because like part of the, she only like he must have had an in at her label or something, because like she only told her label about releasing Folklore the week it came out.
yeah, I don't know.
So like
Because
who did he know?
Like literally filming the music video, she wore an earpiece so that no one else would hear the song.
That's crazy.
Like she was so conscious about these leaks, but then there was Steve, I guess. This
fuck
dude,
you, Steve.
but not Steve Harrington. We love Steve Harrington. Steve Harrington would never. The only other thing, and this is like so tangentially related, but we brought up Cardi B and also the song Cardigan. I constantly think about the tweet that said Cardi B is short for cardigan backyardigan every day of my life. Every day of my life.
What an amazing intrusive thought to have.
Because I don't listen to Cardi B's music, but I do think about cardigan backyardigan all the time.
Valid.
And now we get to the lyrics. If I can see them. I can see you. Exactly.
Oh wait, that's a great way for me to bring up the fact that Tay Lautner responded to one of my comments on TikTok. So Tay Lautner, one of her friends, posted a TikTok dancing to underwear. Oh, the underwear song. Dancing to the Guess remix with Billie Eilish.
I knew.
Yeah, I mean the underwear song. It's the one. And I commented and said, "There's a reason why Tay rhymes with slay," and she responded with a little like hairbrush emojis.
Yeah.
So now, this is why I've been saying slay so much.
Was
it
an
was
Easter
all
egg.
built up to this moment. You know what? I've said slay a lot less since then. So really, it was just this was what it was all. It was all an Easter egg.
It's true. I think I say slay more than you at this point. I say it a lot now.
I did say it in a business meeting. But it was just my boss, and she's cool. It's fine.
Just your boss.
It was
is
very
fine.
slay.
It was very slay.
Sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. But that was really great. I love that you're just getting closer and closer to Taylor Swift. We are going places.
We're moving in.
We're moving up. We're doing great. All right. So the lyrics. We start with vintage tea, brand new phone. So Genius pointed out, I actually just really like this quote, so I'll read it. This line uses the literary device of juxtaposition, placing two contrasting ideas in close proximity to imply that the relationships we assume exist between age and knowing are not as clear-cut as they may seem. So like vintage versus new, young versus old. To me, this also just gives like the 2014, 1989 era fashion.
Yes. This would have been for sure a caption on like an aesthetic Tumblr blog.
Yes. Like vintage tea, brand new phone, you know. High heels on cobblestones is like very similar. And it's funny because I originally was just like literally just a continuation of the last line. And then I looked it up on Genius and I was like, oh, never mind. There's like 40 million more things I could say about this. So my note is this. All I can think about is how pleasing the sound would be. That's my note of high heels on cobblestones. All right.
Clickety clack, bitch.
Clickety clack. So then Genius said, apparently it's hard to walk on cobblestones in heels. So it
Yeah.
represents the relationship is unsteady.
Well, because there's big gaps between them.
Yeah,
So
hard to skateboard, hard to walk in heels.
hard not to trip and fall into someone's vagina.
Exactly. And so it connects to the line in Betty about cobblestones we just said. And this also implies that it's possible that maybe like Betty saw Augustine pick him up because like she's talking about cobblestones.
That's true. Maybe she was trying to chase James, but
Unless
she was wearing high heels, so she was going slow. Augustine got there first.
alternatively he was wearing heels.
Lost a bet to a guy in a chiffon skirt,
but
but
I
I make these high heels work.
Oh my gosh,
James is Fred and Yuri. That makes sense. They both suck.
Oh man. There's also like this weird rhythmic thing in the background that kind of sounds
So
like
good.
heels on cobblestones. All right. The next line is repeated throughout the song. When you are young, they assume you know nothing, which I could spend a whole podcast episode talking about this concept, but she's reflecting on like who she was and how much she knew back then, even though people were constantly underestimating her. James was underestimating her. But just like when you are young, people do assume you know nothing. They invalidate your feelings all the time. They belittle your feelings and what you're going through, but you recognize what's going on and you understand things. It's just that you feel so deeply.
They say things like, "You're only 17. What do you know?"
Exactly. Sequin smile, black lipstick, very Reputation era of her.
So goth.
Sensual politics. So in the years leading up to this album, Taylor really started to embrace her sexuality. She really started to talk more about politics. Like with Lover, she talked a lot about politics. In Miss Americana, the documentary, she talks a lot about this decision and this transformation. And that's sort of what this line reminds me of. But also just like the sensual politics of like treating love as a teenager as a political thing where you're sort of playing this chess game. Especially because like she was dancing with him and then James saw it and now he's going to go run off with Augustine and like sensual politics. And there's also a book called Sexual Politics by Kate Millett. It was published
Sensual or sexual politics?
Sexual.
Okay.
It was published in 1970 and it's a landmark feminist work that talked about how women are subjugated and exploited through art and pop culture.
That makes sense. I feel like also like second wave feminism, because like first wave feminism was women get to vote. Second wave was like the personal is political movement.
Yeah.
So that also makes me think of that.
So then she says again, when you are young, they assume you know nothing. And then we get into the chorus. But I knew you. I just love how it like leads into that, where she's like, they assume that you know nothing. But I knew you. I saw you. I know exactly what you were, what you are.
I don't know anything, but I know I miss you.
Exactly. Or like I remember it all too well as well.
Yeah.
It was there. I was there.
It was rare.
Yeah. I knew I would laugh at this note when I wrote it, and here I am, dancing in your Levi's. I just wrote jeans.
What do you mean you just wrote jeans?
I just wrote jeans. He's dancing in his Levi's. What else is there to say?
Jancing. Jean dancing.
Anyway, Levi's are a type of jean.
Dancing in your jeans.
Dancing in your Levi's. Drunk of... I can't speak anymore.
Jeet light. It's spelled like Joe.
Not the Jeet light. Oh no. Your cardigan. Oh, can someone make us a jean cardigan, please? Thank you. We're asking our listeners for a lot today.
We're really putting you guys to work. We said this is what we give you, shit post, and you give us cardigan.
Oh gosh. Okay. So the next line, drunk under a streetlight. So in Betty, James says, kissing in my car again, stopped at a streetlight. Does he say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, why does that seem
It's
not
the
right?
outro.
Okay, right. Okay. So if we're to connect these two events, like hopefully he is not drunk driving, but she's saying that like they're drunk on love, kissing under the streetlight in his car. So I just thought that was interesting how she said drunk under a streetlight. In August, Augustine says like August sipped away like a bottle of wine. So the women are talking about like feeling love drunk and he's just like kissing in my car. I knew you, hand under my sweatshirt, baby kiss it better. First of all, it's Boise. Spoicy perhaps. Oh, I forgot to say that there's a lot of Cornelia Street like weaved into the song as well, like Drunk Under a Streetlight. In Cornelia Street, drunk on something stronger than the drinks at the bar, and the streetlights pointed in an arrowhead.
I also think, like, yes, Cornelia Street, going back to the spoiciness, I feel like it's not necessarily, I feel like it's just like PDA, but it's like a very like familiar PDA. Like, you don't just randomly like start putting your hands up your significant other's shirt, like without being at a certain level of comfort with each other.
Right. Well, spoicy to me,
that's true.
It's very much like this is referencing like intimacy, you know?
Yeah.
But even if you go in more of a wholesome direction, like I have this image in my head where she like accidentally cut her hand or hurt her hand or something. Or maybe she like fell on her high heels on the cobblestones and like hurt her hand. And she was just like, you know what? I'm not going to be a baby about it. I'm going to be so brave. I don't want to bring attention to it. So she just hid it under her sweatshirt in her little sweater paw, because she says hand under my sweatshirt. She doesn't say your hand or my hand. It could be his hand. It could be her hand. So I think her hand is hidden under her
third-party hand.
Just, where'd this come from? Where'd this hand come from?
Unhand me.
Put this here.
James, when he starts sleeping with Augustine.
Where did you mean to put it in her purse? All right. Anyway, so then he finally, he's like, why you have a hand in your cardigan, bro? And she's just like, I heard it. And then he kisses it better.
Oh.
So that's like, that's the image I have without like the dismembered hand. Not that part. That was a bit.
You can tell which one of us writes thrillers.
So then we get into the refrain. And when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. I did have to say it in the rhythm.
The rhythm is so good.
It's like a really cozy, this whole song is a very calm, cozy vibe that it sets you in. And it sounds really romantic at first. And then you think about it in a minute.
You're like, wait a minute.
First of all, she says someone's bed. She doesn't say my bed or your bed. So is that a reference to Augustine, you think?
I've always thought of it as like she's trying to make it a relatable thing to the whole audience, because like she's telling the story to us. And it's, or like she's, you know,
that's true.
It's like 20 or 30 years later, she's telling the story of like how they had this breakup thing when they were younger.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, have you ever had an old cardigan under someone's bed? Have you ever felt like that? And then
you ever feel like a plastic bag?
Me, when I sent a video of fireworks in the group chat and everybody was just like, haha, there's a plastic bag. And I was like, I didn't see that. I was looking at the fireworks.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's like, it's a very reflective song. So she could be talking about like many things, many unrelated things. But I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that she said someone's. But also like saying, you know, you put me on and said I was your favorite is kind of like he's misleading her, or he's saying what she wants to hear.
Yeah, to like put someone on.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
To, like, lie to them.
Right. And so, and that's, you know, bad. That's bad. James from the Folklore Love Triangle.
Don't do that, James from the Folklore Love Triangle. Bad.
It's
I'm gonna
bad.
spray you with water till you stop being a dick.
And also, calling someone your favorite person isn't the flex that you think it is. It's generally, I wouldn't say great to put that pressure on someone. So maybe don't. James from the Folklore Love Triangle. All right. We get into the second verse. A friend to all is a friend to none. I never really believed this like sentiment. I have thoughts about it, but it'll lead to my discussion question. But secondly, do you know who said this?
No.
Aristotle.
Who knows how to ball? Who knows how to ball? Who knows Aristotle?
Who? Well,
so it's like when you walk up to like, you know, like gay people, you're like, oh, it's sort of like who's man, who's woman. It's like, okay, so who knows Aristotle and who knows how to ball?
So anyway, chase two girls, lose the one. So we've talked a lot about that already. Pretty self-explanatory. When you're young, they assume you know nothing. But she knew the entire time, kind of like in Mastermind. For the second chorus in the demo, the lyrics were, I knew you living in a gold age, sneaking to my bird cage, which I love. Because like the idea of being in a bird cage, I didn't do a lot of research on this concept because I already had like loaded notes, but like being on display, being an animal in a cage has this whole symbolic thing. And
in the Look What You Made Me Do music video, she is in a golden bird cage.
oh, there you go.
Bam.
And so it was him like rescuing her and like setting her free sort of vibes. And then the next part, I knew you laughing like a damn fool, breaking every damn rule. Just like more anger in it than the chorus that she went with, which is playing hide and seek and giving me your weekends. So I'm thinking like hide and seek is usually a game played by kids, and like she talks a lot about feeling like a kid when she's in love. So there's that. Also, one of the deluxe editions of this album was called Hide and Seek. And then also just like the sneaky way of like he was playing hide and seek. Giving me your weekends is kind of like he had Augustine for part time and Betty for another part of the time.
SZA's song, The Weekend, that you're like 9 to 5, I'm the weekend.
Yeah, or you've got
Which
a
is
9 to
about
5,
cheating.
so I'll take the night shift by Lucy
Oh.
Dacus. Yep,
Ah.
I know. I'm sorry. And then I Knew You, Your Heartbeat on the High Line, which the High Line is in Manhattan. It reminds me of the kaleidoscope of hearts beating under coats from Welcome to New York that I keep talking about.
The Highline's super cool.
It's super cool.
Also, cool lore and history behind it that we won't get into.
I wish we had time. But it's making me think that like they're on the High Line and has her head to his chest so she can hear his heart beating. And like, I don't know if that's what she meant, but like just the way that this cozy sound and the lyrics are very evocative of different images and feelings when it could be interpreted so many different ways is really cool.
And also, one thing about the High Line is that, like, when you're on it, there's really tall plants and stuff. So even though you're in the middle of Manhattan, it feels like you're not. Like, it feels like this little escape inside the city.
Yeah. Which is like
Even cozier.
what love feels like.
And that's that's like Folklore's entire thing is isolation.
Yeah. Once in 20 lifetimes. So it's even more rare than once in a lifetime. And as Genius so rudely pointed out in Lover, the album, the first song has Have I Known You 20 Seconds or 20 Years? And the last song, Daylight, has I've Been Sleeping So Long on a 20-Year Dark Night. And now this one also has 20.
It also makes me think of Timeless.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we get to the bridge. This bridge went viral on TikTok for like the instrumental version of just the harmonies in the background.
So good.
Very beautiful.
I want to inject it into my bloodstream.
Same. To kiss in cars and downtown bars was all we needed. As you mentioned last week, Augustine says, I never needed anything more in the song August. You drew stars around my scars, but now I'm bleeding. Literally just big ow. That just hurts. And it reminds me of from the Scars when they pulled me apart, but what you did was just as dark.
It also
we
makes me
talked
think
about.
of Invisible String of like, and Tolerate It. Where's the man who threw blankets over my
barbed wire. Yep, the barbed wire thing. So then we get to another chorus. She changes it up a little bit. 'Cause I knew you stepping on the last train marked me like a bloodstain. So they're no longer on the High Line. He's taking the night train for a reason, to quote Champagne Problems. Marked me like a bloodstain. I don't know why, but I just thought of Lady Macbeth. I know that this isn't about murder, but just like she can't stop seeing the blood on her hands sort of vibes. Tried to change the ending. Peter losing Wendy. I said I'm going to let Kat take this one because I'll cry otherwise.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week, but like the idea of Peter losing Wendy, like the end of Peter Pan is like Wendy goes back because Peter Pan can never grow up and Wendy wants to grow up and she wants like a life.
Yeah.
And Peter Pan doesn't want that. So they lose each other because she wants to grow up and he doesn't.
Yeah, and then she, of course, has that song Peter on Torture Poet's Apartment. More about that.
Said you were going to grow up, then you were going to come find me.
Exactly. Now, here's a horrible fun fact about that line. In the demo version, it was Peter leaving Wendy. Yeah.
But Wendy leaves Neverland, not...
But he never leaves Neverland to go be with her. He said he was going to grow up and then come find her. But he left her by not joining her. I know.
Fucking rude.
I know.
I'm glad she changed it.
It's kind of similar to I Got Cursed Like Eve Got Bitten, where it's switched, where like Peter leaving Wendy when Wendy left Peter.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Swift.
Folklore being rewritten.
So anyway, I Knew You. Okay. I don't know how much I can say about these next two lines. Leaving like a father, running like water. I will say that they are so lyrically incredible and devastating.
Yeah, just like... Because knowing that, like, you drew stars around my scars when I'm bleeding, and, like, he's doing the exact same thing that her father did to her mother, and, like, he knows how much it hurt her.
Yeah.
And he's doing it anyways because he is a bitch ass.
But, like, it's so painful. And also just running like water. Like, it is so easy for him to run away.
Mm-hmm.
So easy. It is second nature. It's gravity. Also, I will say that I wrote slay similes, though.
It's you know what?
We both love grammar today.
We love a good literary device. She used a good literary device. However, she did it in a way that I find rude.
So then we get into this last verse 3, and both of these have different song structures.
Mm-hmm.
But she repeats again, when you are young, they assume you know nothing. And then she goes into this verse of all the things she knew.
Mm-hmm.
This part is so good. This song is so good. But just like, I knew you'd linger like a tattoo kiss. Like it's a blood stain. It's permanent. It's a tattoo. She knew the moment she met him that this was going to be a forever in her head.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me Death by a Thousand Cuts with like my heart, my hips, my body, my love, trying to find a part of me that you didn't touch.
Yes, and also hoax. Like, you knew
Yeah.
at the party me back in New York, you knew the hero died.
Yeah, definitely.
She knows a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
she's not afraid to let us know that she knows things.
And I love that for her. Also, the demo version, it was a stolen kiss, which I like tattoo better.
I like Tattoo Kiss better too.
I knew you'd haunt all of my what ifs.
So good.
All of them. All of them. If you think about the one, like if one thing had been different,
Would everything be different?
thank you. You would haunt all my what ifs. We also got Haunted from Speak Now.
Of course.
But like, it just hurts.
It's just rude. That's all.
The next line, the smell of smoke would hang around this long. I love that there's a silent, like, I knew the smell of smoke would hang around this long. But she doesn't have to say that, because then she says, because I knew everything when I was young. I knew everything. This whole song, she says, when you are young, they assume you know nothing. And she ends the song saying, I knew all of it. I knew it. I knew that I was naive. I knew that I was falling headfirst into something that was just going to overcome me and going to just change me forever. I knew that this guy was going to, like, break my heart. I knew all that.
And you still did it.
And she still did it because she's 17 and that's what you do.
And even knowing all of it, she went along because she thought the consequences were worth it.
Yeah. And honestly, in a way, that is literally the quintessential growing up experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's every time you fall in love is like, you know, I'm giving this person the power to hurt me. And I know that, you know, if things end, I'm going to always have these what ifs about like, what would have been fun if you would have been the one.
Yeah. And it also reminds me of like Midnight Rain, a bunch of other songs where she thinks about that, or 'Tis the Damn Season. She talks about that as well. A lot of like, what if things had been different? I knew I'd curse you for the longest time.
Mood.
Yeah, she's like,
Hold that grudge, buddy.
Literally, good for her. So, I put this here because I wanted to put the demo lyrics first because I didn't want to end on these because they're so painful. These are the lyrics that I think about every moment of every day. I am so mad that they got cut.
I'm afraid because I don't remember what they are off the top of my head right now.
So she says, I knew I'd curse you for the longest time. I knew I'd wish you would have changed your mind. I knew you'd miss me once the moment died. I knew to love would be to lose my mind. That she should have kept. I knew to love would be to lose my mind. She should have kept that. That needed to be in there.
She was right though. So damn. She said you guys aren't ready for this.
I wasn't. I'm
still not ready. I got chills. You just read the line.
And like hearing the demo of her sing that.
She wrote that in like a 5-hour thing.
Can you believe it?
No.
I
lied.
Taylor, how? I really said that like with the twang. Taylor.
You said it like you were like gasping out like that was your final breath.
I've gone full tea kettle on this podcast a lot lately. I think I just can't stop wheezing like that. What's the character in Toy Story?
Oh yeah, the wheezy guy.
The wheezy one. The penguin. That's me.
Is his name like Wheezy or something?
Probably. Okay. Chasing shadows in the grocery line. This is another incredible lyric that says so much in so few words. So if we're continuing with the Peter Pan theme, there's a part in Peter Pan where Peter loses his shadow and him and Wendy have to go find it to reattach it. So that's part of chasing shadows. But also the expression is chasing after things that don't exist. And chasing shadows in the grocery line is making me think of like all the innocuous places that you go to where you think you see someone like a ghost from your past that's not really there. And ow.
And also, like, just thought of this, but, like, you know when you're at a store or something, you see something that reminds you of someone, and it's just, like, something so innocuous where it's like, oh, yeah, like, my ex loved Coke Zero, and there's Coke Zeros here.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the Sabrina Carpenter song where she's like, you used a fork once.
Yes.
Turns out forks are fucking everywhere. Like, that's the same
That's
energy.
amazing. No, I love that line, and that's so real.
I love Sabrina Carpenter. I can't wait for her album.
That's an amazing lyric. I also, unfortunately, compared it to How Did It End with, like, she was at the shops walking around like she was lost, or walking in circles like she was lost.
Rude.
It was rude of me to do that, and I apologize and take full responsibility. I knew you'd miss me. What? I can't speak English. I knew you'd miss me once the thrill expired. I bet you think about me. Has similar vibes, and also
She was right.
she was right. Also, once I fix me, he's gonna miss me.
Oh.
From My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys.
Oh.
Like, she knew that he was going to leave her for Augustine and eventually come crawling back because she knew she was the one the whole time.
Yeah.
I love that confidence for Betty, honestly. I hope he did make it up to her somehow, and I just don't believe that he did. And you'd be standing in my front porch light. So, like, she knew that he'd show up to her party. All this time where he was just like, what if I showed up? She's like, you would. Oh, also, wait. He said, what if I showed up to your party? And she said, you'd haunt all of my what ifs.
Chills.
Wow.
I've never made that connection before,
Me
despite how many
neither.
times I've listened to both of these songs.
Wow. Taylor Swift, the genius that you are. I knew you'd come back to me. You'd come back to me. You'd come back to me. So Kat pointed out last week that this could possibly be the two of them getting together and breaking up a few times over the course of their lives, but he always comes back. They always get back together. And I really like that take.
Yeah.
But also she says she knows everything, you know, and the main thing that she knows is that he will come back. Like, she had that belief. She had that faith, even if it's a false god. Like, she had it. And then we get that, and when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. So just reflecting on that again, I really hope that years down the line, after she sings the song to herself, she dumps James.
Yeah. She hears Betty and she goes, You thought about what all summer long?
Yeah.
Bro? What?
But also,
She
like,
bro-zones him.
she's realizing that he put her on and said I was like she's realizing this now. I want Betty and James to break up.
Because all he
personally.
wants to do is make it up to her.
Betty deserves better.
Betty deserves so much better.
Here's
Bettier.
my discussion question. Aristotle once said, "A friend to all is a friend to none." I notoriously am friends with everyone. Do you think I'm a bad friend?
Where did you get my question for the Hot Ones episode? Except asking if I'm a bad friend. Kidding. I think that what the quote means, because I do agree with the quote, but it's more of like when you don't stand up for your friends. I had a friend in college who was a friend to all and a friend to none, because she would always like I remember the first time she met my very good friend of the pod, Bailey. She shit talked me to Bailey. Bailey had never met her before. Bailey was my roommate at the time.
Oh my goodness.
The first thing that she did as soon as I left the room was she shit talked me to Bailey to try to build rapport by tearing me down. And so, like, that's what when I think of friend to all, friend to none, that's the person that I think of, because it's like, to your face, she was always very nice and she always wanted to be the peacekeeper, and she didn't want to have any conflict. She didn't want to have any problems ever, even if there were legitimate issues. She would rather just like try to get people to drop it and not work through things, which worked out so well.
It is very James Core though, because he is like in front of all your stupid friends. Like, just he
is a friend to none.
He's shit talking Augustine. He's shit talking her friends. She's like, no, but I love you. Yeah, I've always felt a little weird about that sentiment because I think, well, I guess like, because I think you can be friends with everyone and friendly to all. And
but I think the thing with you is that if somebody's a bad person, you don't try to be friends with them and you don't try to justify their behavior. And that's what I think of like the friend to all, friend to none, is that it's somebody who, because they don't want to cause any conflict and they want to be friends with everybody, they have no like personal beliefs and they won't express their thoughts. Because I think of like Aaron Burr in Hamilton when he's trying to like campaign.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I just thought that would be a fun little question because I knew it would be a heavy episode.
So that's the question that you guys got to answer. And now our hint songs for next week.
My hint song is London Calling by The Clash.
And mine is Beside You by 5 Seconds of Summer.
We love a 5 sauce mention.
We love a 5 sauce mention.
Yeah. So, gosh, all right. So stay tuned next week. If you like listening to us, we have more little clips and things, and I can't speak English anymore, so I'm gonna let Kat take it away.
And they're on our TikTok at Folklore Pod,
and our Instagram is Folklore Pod.
And we also have our Patreon where we post fun extra bonus content, like our show notes with all of our comments, unfiltered by realizing we have to say them out loud and they have to sound sensical. The monologue of me doing Betty as a monologue is going to be on there because I think that's going to be really funny.
Various memes. I think I'm going to post a video of me singing Cardigan from last year. I've got songs up there. We've got all kinds of stuff up there.
Lots of stuff. It's very fun. And then, of course, if you join at the Swiftest tier, you can join us for our monthly live streams. And also, starting next month, we'll be sending out the physical gifts because after you've been in the Patreon for 2 months, we'll send something out to you depending on your tier. All the info's on our socials and also on our Patreon, which is linked in the show notes. So, yeah.
And now a special thank you to our Swiftest tier patrons. Editing Abby. Hit it.
Bethany, September, M, and Ashley.
You're the best. Have a great day.
Thank you, Swiftest tier patrons. You guys rock so much.
Yay, yay, yay,
Yay, yay,
yay, yay, yay.
And other than that, I think we did it.
We did it. Crispy high five.
Crispy high five.
Oh. No. No.
Okay.
One more. Yeah, that was it. That was crispy. My hand.
It's under your sweatshirt.
Whose hand is this? Oh my God. Spear, what have you done? Oh. One of my Hinge prompts has that I have a podcast about Taylor Swift, and sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, Swift's called. People will be like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. What's it called? And like Swiftlore, and then I like stop messaging them. Not because of that, but because I'm genuinely very bad at responding to messages on Hinge. But I always make sure to respond to that one because, you know, marketing is marketing.
So anyway, this one's single and on Hinge.
And if you're here because we matched on Hinge, I'm sorry.
James from the Folklore Triangle, go. I was going to say something bad, but I didn't.
Hell.
It was going to be worse than hell, actually.
New Jersey?
Yeah. Go to New Jersey.